What's going on YouTube? Technician Troy here again. Appreciate y'all following along. Well, I've got another build for you, and this is it. You know me, I love the S chassis trucks, and this is a 2002 Chevy Blazer Xtreme 4.3. Nothing like this. This is going to be the grocery getter. So little rundown on this. This was a customer's car from work. Came in as a crank no start. I have a YouTube short on it. You may have seen it. It's kind of funny, but I'm a bit biased. But I'll show you what's going on with it. So they said it's a crank no start. And it's a really clean truck. It's got 162,000 miles on it. Get on in here. You want to soak this up. It's nice. It's console shift. Here, I'll grab the camera from you. So it's console shift. It's got nice seats. It's got nice back seats in there. I just got to bolt them back down. Let's get in here and show you. I just got to bolt them down. Got a new aftermarket radio. It's got new aftermarket speakers in it. But let's just let's show you here. So I'm assuming the customer hit something, but it says it's got 162,842 miles on it. The truck's in really good shape. You know, all of it. That's factory. So I mean, it's ooh, look, fancy. So it's gonna be a fun little build. I'm excited about it. Like I said, it's got aftermarket wheels on it already, some US mags. It's got some 20s in the front, 18s in the, or 20s in the rear, 18s in the front. It's missing the center cap, but that's okay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to building it. So we'll get this hood pop for you real quick, maybe. Take a little bit of a look. So the customer complained it was a crank no start. So I'll show you when we'll verify what's going on there. So I don't know if y'all can hear it. It's got that weird gallop. It typically is an indication that you're down on compression on some cylinders. So started looking at it and everything at work. Well, I did, and another gentleman did. And we were checking, you know, fuel pressure, this, that, and the other, you know, the normal GM stuff. Wasn't getting any spark. So what feeds spark? Well, it's got to have crank sensor or crank signal from the crank sensor down at the bottom of the engine. So if you'll come down here with me, I'll show you something. We were looking for it, and well, this is kind of an indication that something has happened here. All of this is broke, and well, if you really get off in here, yeah, that's the crankshaft. Crank sensor is supposed to go in there. There's the connector. The oil pan is absolutely obliterated. The crankshaft is in there. You can see it, and it's just mangled. Well, that's no bueno. So hence the reason it doesn't start. I've got a few ideas out there. A lot of people told me to you know, throw a crank sensor in there on the reluctor ring and let her eat, see what happens. Can't be much worse, right? Well, as much as I like carnage, it's now my project, and I don't want any more carnage to happen. So if you'll follow me into the garage, I'll show you what we're going to wind up doing. So what we have here is another 4.3 V6. That's right. I'm going through the trouble of just swapping back into a V6. This one is out of a Silverado. I believe it is out of a 2001 Silverado. It is still a 4.3. It still has the spider injectors, and it will work with this vehicle. The only problem is it has 240,000 miles, and I bought it used for $200 out of the back of some guy's truck off the Facebook Marketplace. Tell me that don't sound sketchy, right? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a poor man rebuild. Y'all have all seen, if you haven't all seen, Nick the Van Man, go check out his channel. He rebuilt a 305 on budget. It's probably about $1,600 in it. Only thing I'm probably gonna do is send the block out to be machined. I'm gonna do standard bore. I'm gonna clean up the block and everything like that, have them hot tank it, maybe deck it, just to make sure everything's good. And then I'm gonna buy probably a D&J full rebuild kit, throw some pistons and wrist pins and new gaskets, things like that, and we'll slap it together and put her off in the truck, have a good daily to go get some groceries with, you know what I mean? So basically what we're gonna get into is we're gonna get into teardown. We're gonna so we've got the upper plenum off of the intake. It's nothing so far from what I'm seeing to be weird or out of the ordinary. Like I said, this motor is said to have 240,000 miles on it, so I've got some carbon buildup a little bit in the passages here. I've got a little bit of rust inside of the block and on the intake, which is to be expected with Dexcool coolants to be used. What I'm expecting to see is about the same amount of buildup in the valley and on the rockers and the timing cover and all that. I am essentially taking all of this apart, and I'm going to piece together what I've got from the other engine to this engine as well once I get the block back from being hot tanked. But I wanted to give you one particular thing. So the 95 Sonoma that I have that now has the LS in it, that was throttle body injected. And for those of you that don't know, throttle body looks like a carburetor, but it's got two big fat injectors sitting right here on top. It's round. It looks like a throttle body. This was GM's early multi-port injection system. These are the little tiny injectors, and they call this the spider injector. As you can see blatantly, it looks like the body of a spider and then the legs. There's only 6. These are pretty prone to going bad. They sell them just by the individual pieces, and what I mean by that is you can actually unplug these injectors, pull them out, and they plug into the body of this guy here on the actual, where all the electrical ports go. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm actually going to try to pull these out and keep this all as one unit, because what happens is you can break these little plastic lines that go to these. And these fuel pressure regulators on the back are prone to going bad too and leaking down. It causes an extended crank sometimes, because what it does is it leaks back down pressure off of these, goes back into the tank, and obviously you have to wait and let the air gap or the air space fill back up with fuel for it to fire off. So the one thing that I'm excited about is the fact that I'm not seeing any water anywhere it's not supposed to be. That's one thing I was worried about when I got it. It had some duct tape on the throttle body and on the ports for the intake, but so far everything's looking really well for a quick and easy poor man rebuild. To eliminate any problems with possibly breaking these lines or pulling these out or anything, what I'll do is I'll leave them installed on the intake, and I'll go ahead and pull the intake itself off once I pull the distributor, and we'll be good. That way I don't have to mess with any of this. Now if it comes down to it later, obviously I can, but as of right now I want to try to alleviate breaking anything. So we'll go ahead and get back into the time lapse and continue teardown. Well, that's a problem. Rookie mistake. I definitely forgot to drain the oil out of it. Oh well, now I've just got a mess to clean up, but we're almost there. So let me clean this oil mess up, and then I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
All right, mess is somewhat cleaned up. Thank God for oil dry. And this god-awful amount of oil and coolant that is in 2 drain pans that I'm gonna have to pressure wash. But now we're ready to pull the oil pan and time and cover and just kind of get a good idea on what the bottom end looks like. I did see one concern, and once I get this oil pan and everything turned up or pulled off, I'll flip it back over and we'll talk about it. But until then, let's keep tearing it apart. we're at a pretty good stopping point without removing the heads, the crank, and the pistons and everything. But I just want to give you a couple updates on what we got going on so far. So what I have found is the timing chain is absolutely shot. I mean, 240,000, this is what I would expect. It's wore slap out. You know, it's rough. I did find some concern, some blocked coolant passages, which makes me a little nervous. And the reason I say that is that they're on the back of the head, or on the back of the heads. And those are pretty notorious for getting clogged up with calcium. And what that does is that overheats the heads, warps them, blows head gaskets, and then mixes with the water or the coolant in the oil. And the reason why I say that's a bit of a concern is because I do see what looks to be a bit of some milkshake action here with a little bit of water. And it's only in the bottom of the pan, so it's not terrible. And I didn't see that throughout any of the other passages. So we should technically be okay to be able to hot tank this engine and clean it out and everything like that. I'm not seeing anything too bad from what I can see inside of the cylinders without removing the heads and the pistons. So if you are gonna enjoy this build and this little teardown and cheap rebuild as best as possible, then stick around and stay tuned. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited to have another little just bone stock, kind of a cool cruiser. Maybe get it a paint job, you know, something that I can go to like car shows and stuff too, versus beating on the Sonoma a little bit. I like mixing it up every now and then. But so far this is where we're at. So I appreciate it, YouTube. Stick around. You'll see the next series on this old low and slow Blazer. Like, share, and subscribe. Ring that bell if you want to see these this series come back up. I look forward to seeing you guys. Y'all have a good day.